Wash the dishes well, useless girl. That was the first thing I heard when I stepped inside my parents' house. And then the sound of laughter. Not mine. Not strangers. My sister's daughters, lounging on the couch, giggling as they watched my 6-year-old daughter scrub plates with trembling hands. She stood on a step stool, barely tall enough to reach the sink. My name is Elena. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever walked into a room and realized the people who once raised you are now breaking your child's spirit right in front of your eyes? I had driven 6 hours straight from the airport. No warning, no call, just a mother's instinct. And what I found was my daughter, tiny, gentle, and terrified, being berated by my mother, while my sister sat sipping juice and scrolling on her phone. Can't even rinse properly, my dad muttered from the hallway. She's not like Clara's girls, Mom added. They know how to behave. Clara, my older sister, the successful one, with the pretty twins and the perfectly filtered Instagram life. They always preferred her. But I never thought they'd use my daughter to play out their favoritism. I walked into the kitchen. My daughter didn't see me, too focused on scrubbing faster, terrified of messing up. I said one word. Enough. Everyone froze. My mom turned. Oh, you're here. We were just teaching her. Teaching? I said. You mean screaming at a child while her cousins laugh? Dad waved me off. Don't be so emotional. Kids need discipline. I looked at my daughter. Tears brimmed in her eyes, but she didn't cry. She had already learned that in this house, tears don't earn compassion. So I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I walked outside, got in my car, and made a call. To the bank. To the loan officer I'd worked with for years. Because they had long forgotten that I'd been quietly paying their mortgage since 2019. After Dad's retirement. After Clara couldn't afford it. And within 48 hours, their autopay stopped. Their grace period expired. And the foreclosure notice went live. The house they used to humiliate my daughter was officially scheduled for auction. And me? I never looked back. They didn't notice right away. Not at first. They still walked around like royalty in that house. Still barked orders at my daughter. Still served Clara's girls fresh juice, while mine got a cracked cup with tap water. Because to them, that house wasn't just shelter. It was a throne. And my child, a servant. But what they didn't know was that the throne had termites. And I was done pretending it was gold. 3 days after I canceled the payments, they called me. Mom first. Lena, did the bank call you too? There must be a mistake. We got some notice about a missed payment. I smiled. No mistake, Mom. I stopped paying it. She went silent. I could feel the panic starting to seep in. Then came the fake softness. But honey, we thought you were helping us out of love. Family supports each other. Family doesn't scream at a 6-year-old like she's free labor, I replied. She sputtered something, but I hung up. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't explaining myself to people who only respected what I gave, never who I was. Next came Clara. Lena, you can't do this. The girls love this house. Mom and Dad will be devastated. I took a breath. And where was that concern when they were calling my daughter names while yours laughed? They were just playing, she snapped. No, I said. Your kids play. Mine performs. Then I hung up. No more debate. No more defense. I didn't owe them anything. Not a warning. Not a speech. Not a savior. I owed one thing, protection to my daughter. And that started with tearing down the place where her light was treated like an inconvenience. A week later, the official notice was nailed to their door. Auction date confirmed. And I didn't gloat. I didn't drive by. I just picked up my daughter, held her face in my hands, and said, "You'll never have to earn your place in this world again." Because they taught her she was disposable. So I showed her she was undeniable. The day the auction notice went public, the group chat blew up. Aunt Mel called it cruel. Uncle James wanted to mediate. Even Grandma, the one who once told me girls like mine needed toughening up, sent me a Facebook message with just 2 words. Why, Lena? Because you watched her struggle. Because you all did. Because when she wiped the table for the third time that night and sat in silence while her cousins got second helpings, none of you said a word. But now that the house is up for auction, suddenly I'm the villain? That's how this family works. They don't protect the quiet ones. They protect the walls that echo their name. Well, those walls are for sale now. And I didn't feel guilt. I felt freedom. Because when you spend your life sacrificing for people who never say thank you, eventually the silence turns from pain into power. They had forgotten the arrangement years ago. How I stepped in after Dad's stroke. How I offered to take over the loan when Clara just needed time to recover from a bad investment. And they never paid me back. Not in money. Not in kindness. Not even in acknowledgement. But my daughter, she paid the price. In humiliation. In tiny bruises of the soul. The ones they called lessons. And I was done letting her carry my debt. 2 days later, I got another call. Dad this time. Lena, please. The bank said the process is almost final. Can't you just fix it? 1 more month. I didn't raise my voice. Dad, do you remember what you called my daughter the day I walked in? He didn't respond. Do you remember her face? Still nothing. Then there's nothing left to say. I ended the call. Because there are moments in life when you stop seeking repair and start building new ground entirely. And as for my daughter, she's blooming. She sings while washing dishes now. In our own kitchen. In our own home. Where no one yells when a cup isn't spotless. Because I didn't just cancel their payments. I canceled the cycle. The auction happened on a Tuesday. Quiet. Orderly. Final. I didn't attend. I didn't need to. Because the moment I stopped that last payment, I had already walked out of that house in my mind. Not just the structure, but everything it stood for. Control. Favoritism. Emotional violence wrapped in the word discipline. Clara was the only one who showed up. Not to bid, she couldn't afford it. But to plead. She stood outside the courthouse steps, tears in her voice, on the phone with the new owner. It's our family home, she cried. But the man wasn't family. He was a real estate investor. He didn't care about their memories. He cared about numbers. And to him, the number made sense. The house was gone. Just like that. And Mel called that night. You didn't have to go this far. I said, you're right. I should have gone further years ago. Because the truth is, that house didn't raise me. I raised myself in its shadows. I raised a daughter in its cracks. And now I was raising hell by refusing to stay silent 1 minute longer. Meanwhile, back at our place, peace had a sound. It was my daughter humming while drawing at the table. It was laughter between us, not at her. It was bedtime without anxiety. It was freedom. And I started to see it. How she was already healing. Because when I handed her the smallest gift, safety, she bloomed. Like no one in that family ever expected. We planted a garden together that week. In real soil. In real sun. A promise to ourselves. Only nurture what nurtures you back. And for every brick they laid with shame, I laid a new one with joy. Because some homes are inherited. But others, the real ones, are built. And this one is finally ours. 3 weeks after the auction. The texts turned venomous. Clara, you're heartless. Dad's blood pressure is spiking. Mom is depressed. You destroyed them. Aunt Mel, family doesn't evict family. Grandma, they took care of you your whole life. How could you? Took care of me? Do they mean the years I was told to cook for everyone while Clara rested? The birthdays where my name was scribbled in pencil, and hers was lit in sparklers? The care that looked a lot like labor? I didn't respond. Because when you've spent your whole life being the afterthought, you don't know the spotlight and explanation. But then came the worst message. From my mother. Just 2 lines. She's not one of us. That girl you had. Maybe she takes after her father. That girl. My daughter. The one who brought me homemade cards when I was sick. The one who drew suns in every corner because she believed light should come from all directions. Not one of you? Good. Because I've seen what being one of you costs. And I'd rather she be free. The one who tried to wash dishes just to feel included. The one they mocked, cornered, crushed. They hadn't learned. Not one thing. Not even after the bank took the keys. They still thought I'd break. That guilt would send me running back to patch the house together. But what they didn't understand was, the day I walked in and saw them screaming at my little girl, something in me turned to steel. So I did reply, just once. You lost the house. You lost the money. Now you've lost the last thread of access to my life and her life. We're done. This door isn't locked. It's gone. Blocked. Every number. Every email. Every ghost of who they pretended to be. Because I wasn't just protecting my child from their hate. I was teaching her something sacred. That love is not what they say when eyes are watching. It's what they do when no one is. And what they did was unforgivable. So I didn't burn a bridge. I erased the map. They didn't show up to her birthday. Not with gifts. Not with fake smiles. Not with more lessons wrapped in sugar-coated cruelty. And, for the first time, my daughter didn't ask where they were. She just smiled. Wide. Free. Real. She blew out her candles in a house full of love, not judgment. She opened presents wrapped in kindness, not conditions. We invited her real family. Our neighbors. Her favorite teacher. My best friend from college. Who never once made her feel small. And when I tucked her into bed that night, she whispered, "Mom, this was the best birthday ever." No one yelled. I kissed her forehead, held her a little longer than usual, and thought, this is what a home should feel like. Not a place that turns children into servants. Not a table where laughter becomes a weapon. Not a living room filled with performance and quiet cruelty. Just safety, softness, belonging. Meanwhile, back in their world, Clara was back to couch surfing. My parents were forced into a modest apartment outside the city. Word had gotten around. The perfect family story didn't hold up under scrutiny. Turns out, when your foundation is built on favoritism and silence, the collapse is public and permanent. One cousin messaged me privately. I saw what happened. I wish I'd spoken up sooner. I saw how they treated her. And you. I thanked her, genuinely, but told her we were done looking backward. Because here's the truth. Some families aren't lost to tragedy. They're peeled away by truth. Layer by layer. Until you're standing in the light and realize you were never the broken one. You were the witness. The survivor. The seed they tried to bury. Not knowing you were a storm. And now I wasn't just living. I was leading. My daughter slept in peace. And I sat outside. Wine in hand. Breeze on my skin. Finally breathing in a life where I didn't have to apologize for choosing her over all of them. 2 months later, they tried to rewrite the story. Word spread. I had overreacted. That I'd lost it. That I stole their house out of spite. Clara told anyone who'd listen. That I was unstable. That the bank had tricked me. That I'd ruined everything because I was jealous. Jealous? Of what? Of being screamed at? Of having my daughter called useless. While others lounged like royalty. They never mentioned why I stopped paying. They left out the part where my child was humiliated by adults too emotionally lazy to parent with compassion. They didn't say a word about the trauma. They brewed like it was family tradition. So I said nothing, because the truth doesn't need defending. It stands on its own when you're finally standing beside it. Instead, I focused forward. I enrolled my daughter in a private school that prioritized emotional intelligence. We traveled, something I had always put off, because I was too busy saving everyone else from their consequences. Now we were collecting joy, the way I used to collect reasons to stay silent. I started a side foundation, quietly, called Rise Before Rain, dedicated to kids dismissed and devalued. by the people meant to protect them. Every donation went toward therapy grants, mentorship, art supplies, after-school safe spaces. No press, no spotlight, just action. Because sometimes the best revenge is replacing what broke you with something that heals others. I still get texts from distant family. Come home. They miss you. Let the past go. But here's the thing. When they say home, they mean the house I saved, then took away. When they say miss, they mean they miss the version of me who didn't speak up. And when they say let it go, they mean bury it like we always do. But I'm not a shovel. I'm a mirror. And I won't crack just because the reflection makes them uncomfortable. Spring came, and with it, full bloom. Outside and within. My daughter's drawings had changed. No more dark corners or stick figures with frowns. Now she painted open skies, houses with her name on the mailbox, tables where everyone had a seat. One afternoon, while unpacking storage boxes from our old apartment, she held up a framed photo. It was from 3 years ago. Her, standing beside my mother. Shoulders stiff. Eyes empty. Forced smile. She looked at it. Then at me. Can I throw this away now? I nodded. And she did. Without flinching. That's when I knew. The cycle didn't just break. It ended. Not with an explosion, but with a quiet child, reclaiming her power piece by piece. As for my parents, their apartment lease ended. I heard they had to move in with Clara. Funny how the golden girl suddenly became their only option. But gold flakes fast when you dig too deep. I haven't spoken to them in nearly a year, not because I hate them, but because I love my daughter more than I'll ever love being understood by people committed to misunderstanding me. The truth? I didn't destroy their life. I just stopped financing the illusion of it. They built a house of hierarchy and called it family. I called it what it was, emotional debt. And I paid it off the day I walked into that kitchen and saw my baby girl being told she wasn't enough. Now she knows better. Now I do too. We still pass by that old neighborhood sometimes. And every time, my daughter reaches for my hand and asks, "Are we ever going back?" And I always smile the same way. Steady, certain, calm. No, sweetheart. We came back to ourselves. That's more than enough. Because the best revenge is a little girl who no longer flinches when someone raises their voice. A home where no one has to earn love. And a mother who burned the blueprint just to rebuild something true.